Hey, it's Doom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit, one half of the Dungeon Swag team, and I seem to have lost the +5 cleaver of liking and subscribing. So if anybody knows where that is, please let me know in the comments, and that would be much appreciated. So today, I actually did a little prep, which is not something I normally do, because I'd like to make some markers, spell markers particularly. I'd like to do a spiritual weapon of a sword, a spiritual weapon of a mace, a spiritual weapon of an axe, which are kind of like the most three common, I think, for the most part. And I would like to do a flaming spear. So what I've gathered here are some 7/8 inch little tokens, like checker pieces or whatever you want to call them, bingo chips, whatever they are. They're tiny. And I'm going to start by drilling a hole in that, which cracks it apparently. Lesson learned, don't apply too much pressure. You want to try to center it if you can. I did not. I failed miserably. Let me get a new one of those since I broke it. And we're not going to drill a hole in it apparently. That was wrong. Drilling a hole in these, unless you had like unless I got out my Dremel or something, probably is a mistake. But I try not to use too many fancy things in my videos because I don't know what you guys have at home and what you don't. And I don't want you to feel like you have to spend money to have fun, because you don't. You can do all this stuff relatively cheap. So let's start with the flaming sphere. I got a piece of this thicker like aluminum, and I got a sphere here. So I'm just going to get some glue, squirt it in this hole, and dip this in there, and then pull it back down in so it settles. And then I'm just going to kind of cover that hole up. And you can be sloppy about this because we're going to come back and do something with this in a little bit here. And you can get a little bit down in there too, probably. Strengthen this up some. There we go. All right, let's let that sit off to the side and let's start on our next base. The next thing we're going to need to do is a base for our spiritual sword. So you kind of want to gauge how tall you want that to sit off the ground. And what I want to do with that is I just want to get, let's rough this up with a little wire brush, because I don't know how well this is going to stick to it. The plastic's pretty sturdy, but it's cracked from that drill, so I don't know if it's too smooth to take paint well. So let's just hit that with that. And let's get some glue here. And what we want to do is just make a jaggedy shape coming around the outside, and then put a little bit more in the middle. Get rid of our little wisp. Get our the rod that our magic weapon is going to stand on, and rub it around in that glue. Kind of get it on there some, and then pull it up and stick it up straight up and down, as close to the middle as we can, and sticking it straight up as we can. We're going to do that a couple more times here while we're waiting for that other thing to settle. We don't want to make these too tall. We're just going to do that a couple times though. See, as it's starting to cool, it's leaning. We don't want it to lean. We want it to stay straight up and down. That's why I was going to drill the holes. You know, I think we can fix that easily by doing this. Let's get a little bit of that. Oh, I didn't rough this one up. That's going to be something we regret later. And by we, I mean I. Get that covered in that, and then we'll just dip that right into, what's that white crap called that I use all the time? The white crap I use all the time that I can't find. You got to be kidding me. Baking soda. If we dip that in baking soda, it should stick pretty good. We'll let that sit for a couple minutes there. All right, let's get that stuck straight up and down the best we can. I didn't rough that one up, so let's hope that's not going to be a problem. Let's rough these all up while we're at it so I don't forget another one. You're probably thinking to yourself, you must not know what you're doing. You got it. That's the secret. I just kind of do. biscuit. A little bit of super glue on the end there. Dip it in our baking powder, baking soda, not powder. Stick it straight up and down. Set it off to the side. Now I did lose one of those little metal pieces I cut somewhere. And even though I hate to waste it, we'll just cut another one real quick. Now if these aren't perfectly straight, it's not going to be the end of the world. But if it's straight, it's pretty good for you. And if it's not straight, it might look a little wonky. Especially if you make some of them straight and not the others, that's going to be like weird too. Unless you don't have them out at the table at the same time, then maybe nobody will notice. Let's put that up there out of the way. All right. Now, this one looks like it's set in place and not going to move around. Let's get this first one here. Let's just get some glue around it. Bring some up onto the stick from a couple different angles. And then work that into the base around on that rugged parts that we have. Now, in order to make these easier to work with, probably the smart thing to do at this point would be to get a couple bases, a couple of these holders that I make, and you can use whatever you like to use. But I like to use these little holders because I am, my hands aren't great. I'm getting older, and my hands don't do what I want all the time. So I'm just putting a dab of glue on those and getting it up where I can hold on to it easier and not get crap all over my hands. Do I have another one laying around? Oh, here's one. Oh, this one's a beater. It's old and shitty. Excuse my French. Alright, so we got to come back. Let's do something with this crap first because this irks me. There we go. Sorry, I do not like spider webs. Alright, let's get this first one here. Let's get some glue around it. There we go. Bring it up onto the base some. Up onto the stick some. I'm sorry, not base. And we can just kind of smear this around onto the edges. There we go. Now, when you're making these for yourself, if you want to take the time to do like terrain around here or anything like that, you can. But I would not consider that a primary focus of this task. Alright, so, oh, that's why I didn't have an extra stick, because this already had a stick. Alright, well, let's yank that out of there. Let's get a pair of yankers and yank it. Wow, that is in there. Oh, got it. Alright, well, the good news is we know that's going to fit pretty nice. Okay, clean out that little bit of glue I got in there. Get some hot glue and shove it back in the hole. And find a good height for our flaming sphere. I think that's pretty good. Now in your game, flaming spheres might be small. In my game, they're a little larger because I like them to be highly noticeable on the table. I have a couple that I've made, but they're not beautiful. So what I want to do now is I want to get some glue on this and start dragging it up. Touching it onto that metal rod and dragging it up. And I don't want this to be perfect. I want different shapes, different textures. And then we want to let that sit and get hard. And let's start on our next weapon. So I think the next weapon we're going to do is the mace. And so for the mace, I have a toothpick and I have a little teeny wooden bead. And my plan was to shove that in there like that and to snip off a good size handle. Snip off at the top of the bead, close to the top, something like that. And then what I want to do is I want to get that on one of these at kind of an angle like it's being swung. And so I thought the best way to do that would be with super glue. This is gel super glue. I don't like to use it a bunch, but for projects like this, it's not as messy. It's a little more reasonable to deal with. So I'm going to find my stick, get some of that glue on the stick, dip that in my crap there. Whoops, there we go. And then get it in place. Alright, now once that's in place, we'll set that off to the side because we're going to come back for some regular glue. We need to make a sword, and we need to make an axe. So for the axe, what I thought we could do is just get another piece of this stick, right? And then I had this little bit of playing card here. This is like from a D&D board game or something. And I thought we could just cut a easy axe shape out of that. So it's just something like that, real basic. Let's see how that fits up on our blade. Okay, it's a little bit big, so what we'll do is we'll just shrink it up a little bit. Okay. Now let's see it up next to our blade, or next to our handle. That's a little more realistic, huh? Let's stick with that one. So I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to get a little bit of glue on the edge of this. I'm going to touch it on my stick. Get some glue on that stick, smeared around. Make sure it's good on that paper. I'm going to dip that paper in the baking soda. And shove it against that stick and hold it for a second until it bonds. Make sure it's good and straight. Don't get it on your finger like that. You'll be sorry quick. And then I want to mount this in a similar fashion. So let's set this to the side real quick, right there. Get a little bit of that. Find where we want it on the stick. Dip this in the baking soda and get it in spot and hold it till it bonds. Okay. If it doesn't bond the first try, you can dip it again if you need to. But the secret is not to have too much of this crap all over the place where you're trying to work. Okay. If you need a little bit more glue, just get a little bit and just wipe it around slowly with the tip. Okay, and set it off to the side, something like that. Now our last one is the mace. No, the sword, sorry. So we have to make a sword because I don't have a little sword that I want to sacrifice for this project. Because if it goes bad, I'll feel terrible. So I have this is a tooth from a comb, and my thought was I would just get another little piece of this. Hold on, let me scrape some of this flatness on one side and on the other. I thought what I would do is get a piece of this comb and a piece of this toothpick, and see I made like a flat spot there, and then we'll just snip off to make it nice on the edges. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then I have this piece, and this is just from a hairbrush. So if your wife or girlfriend or boyfriend or whoever has an old hairbrush, this could be a good project for you. So we're going to take that and put it down for a minute. We're going to do the same thing we've been doing. We're going to get a little bit of glue on this blade here. Spread it around. We're going to touch the center of this wooden thing with it. Get some of that in place. Spread it around a little bit. Dip this in the baking soda. And stick it to that handle. And let it sit for a second. Get it on there good. Now this is not going to be super sturdy at first, okay? So this might take some effort on your part and some patience, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with being a little patient. Now we're doing the same thing back here. Got our handle. We're going to dip it in a little bit of this glue and get it covered. We're going to dip it in baking soda. See a little bit of white on the end there. We're going to fit it to that sword the best we can. This one's going to probably take a couple dips, and that's okay. We might get it in one. Oh, we got it in one. Look at that. Miracles do happen. All right, so now we don't, on this one, it's going to be, to keep it working, it's going to be, well, this got repositioned badly. Hold on, we're going to have to get a little more baking soda. Got a better spot. Yeah, we need more glue too. Okay. All right. Oops. Rub it around. Get it covered. Spread that out. Get some baking soda. Get a better position for that handle. Okay. Now this is not one of those it must be perfect deals, but it helps if it doesn't look stupid, you know. It helps. It's not crucial, but it's useful. So I'm just going to get my blade and find a spot where I think it's going to sit nice. Dip my blade and get that glue on it. Then I'm going to take this and dip it in my baking soda. I'm going to get my handle back on, my blade back on there. And it's going to be at an angle which it looks like this is going to stick nice. Okay. Come on. There you go. Let that sit for a second. Move it around a little bit and get it stuck. We'll set that off to the side. Now, while those set, we're going to need to put some wet glue on those too. Now that we've got that far, we need some wet glue. Do I have one open? Oh. Does it have any glue in it? That's glued shut. I really need to go buy super glue. I'm super bad at my job, guys. Sorry. Not a job. This is a hobby, but you know what I mean. So I have little one-users here. And although I think these are a giant waste, my wife had, or somebody had bought these for me. So let's get that little card that we don't need anymore. We'll use that as our glue place to set this down. We just want to kind of grip this along the handle and grip it up and down on the base and get all this so that it soaks in and makes a coating over everything. It makes it sturdier. And we'll set that off to the side when we're done. Same deal, just get it on the wood, down the pole. There we go. Not too much, but not too little. Okay. Getting a little bit on this blade is probably a good idea. Okay. And then leave those off to the side to sit. Now this blade isn't made, or this handle isn't made out of wood necessarily, but we need to strengthen this one up too, so that it's all bonded and doesn't come off while we're painting and stuff. Okay. So let's get that all coated good. Now you might be thinking to yourself, hey, I have too much on here. You know what? Our ultimate goal is to put a spell effect on this, right? To make it look like it's magical. So we can cover that up while we're doing that part. I think we're done with baking soda for now. I'm going to set that over here to the side. And let's come back to this bad boy. And get, oh, there's a glue drop. Let's get some more glue on it. Let's spread that glue around and bring it up. Start working on the top. Now we can just get in here and swirl the dried glue with the tip of the blade, or not blade, tip of the glue gun, and add some texture in here. And that's going to do a lot for us in the future when it comes to painting. Okay, there we go. There we go. Let's get some texture on there. You can drag around where you've got glue already, and you can pull some of your wet glue around and make different shapes and colors, or not colors, shapes and features. And then at the top here, we're just going to start making a little bump. And that's going to be where the hot flames lie. So let's come over here and see where we're at. I think we need to get a little glue off this one. Yes, we did. All right. So this one's starting to look pretty sturdy. Look at that. I'm pushing it with my finger up and down. It's sturdy and good. Let's check this one. Okay, this one's going to need some work. Not a problem. Let's get some forceps since it's already got glue all over it. Where's my shitty forceps? They're there. All right, let's get our shitty forceps and get it back up on that bad boy. Get it in place. All right, we're probably going to need a little bit of baking soda. Let's get that. There we go. Dip our tip in baking soda and get that blade back right where it goes. There we go. All right. So it's a little off center now. Let's just get it on there. Get it in place. All right. We're going to have to use that wet glue again and make sure we get a really good bond. It wasn't quite dry, and I got over ambitious. And that happens because we're not perfect. Not even close, dudes. All right, let's see how that sword's looking. Pretty good. Let's get our dab of glue on the sword and on the mace just to make sure nothing comes loose again. Okay. All right. I don't know why I'm whispering. I'm feeling very whispery. This is not quite as settled as I hoped, but that's okay. Let's come back up here and start getting some texture on this bad boy. The more texture we have, the more interesting it's going to look. Okay. Now, if we set this upside down, it's going to help our cause of making a lump there. So as it dries, let's let that sit. All right, what do we need to do here? Let's see if we're happy with the bases. Pull some more magic around on that base there and get a little bit up onto the flaming sphere. And then kind of smooth that around a little bit down there and let it melt. That's just still cooling on top. I think the other bases are kind of where we want them. Though I'm worried about that axe not being sturdy still. Oh, it's much sturdier now. Alright, so I had some extra pieces we ended up not using, and that's okay. There were just ideas I had that we could do for like a spiritual scimitar and like a spear. And I don't think we really needed those, so let me start cleaning up some of my mess. And let's move on. I don't think we're going to need any of this stuff. So I can put that away. Alright, so the rest of this craft part is going to be mostly hot glue. And what we want to do is we assume there is a magical effect on this stuff. So by pulling this up and letting it start to cool, we can create little wisps of magical effect. And once you do that, you want to make sure that you are holding this in a direction to where it won't fall back on the hot glue and dry. Okay? Alright. Get your extra glue off there because you don't want that. And just create some little swoops coming off, some little strings of glue. Okay. There we go. Little wispies hanging down. Like that. And that's going to be like the blue magic coming off this, or whatever color magic we use. And once those are air dried enough, you can just snip those off pretty close to the... There you go. Something like that, and we just have some little wispies of magic coming off. And you can have as many of those little wispies or as few of those as you want. I'd like to add one more on this side, I think. There we go. Let that sit for a moment. Don't let it get stuck to your other parts. You'll be sorry. Alright, there we go. Something like that's perfect for the effect we want to capture. So for our axe, we're going to do something similar. We're just going to drag some of this up, and then we're going to hold it upside down and let little wispies. Now I will tell you, I did this originally in the wintertime, and in my garage it gets pretty cold, and it was awesome because these were like getting hard as a rock instantly, and it was no work. Now this is unfortunately taking a little bit of work, but it's alright, dudes. Get our little wispies. There we go. Pull all of that off. We just want a little bit sticking up here and there for magical effect mostly. It's going to be real brittle. And we want to kind of do something to coat this in a texture that makes it seem as if it's got multiple layers going on. And you can do that just by dragging your glue around on it. It's going to be a little hot, so don't burn yourself. We're going to do the same thing on this bad boy. Just get a little tiny drop of glue and drag it around. Make some texture so the handle doesn't look like a perfect handle that we crafted. It looks more like it's something that has manifested. There we go. Alright. Get our sword. Come up off the handle. Come onto the blade. Both sides. Not handle, I'm sorry, the rod. Come up onto the blade. And you can really go as fancy as you want with this stuff, right? You can make it as cool or dumb looking as you please. Something like that on the sword there. Alright, so anyways, let's come back to this bad boy. This is our last one. And we just want to kind of make sure we've covered in all the little gaps of wood showing. Get some texture on here. Just dragging this up with thin lines. You can be a little wavy with them if you want, a little crazy with them. And then we want to get some along the top here. And we want to end in a point. So to do that, we're going to hold it upside down. And we're just going to drag upwards a couple little of these and connect them. Okay. And then twist that tip like you're doing an ice cream cone and hold it upside down and let it cool. Okay. So we got something like that going on. There we go. We can just kind of pull that out and make it a little sharper if we want to. Not mandatory, just optional thoughts. Okay, So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean off all the little wispies, and I'm not going to be doing it with a lighter because that's crazy. I'm going to do it by hand, and once I get all the little wispies off, I'm going to base coat these, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to paint them in video too. So this has been Doom from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit. Thanks for watching.